I'm like, God, I don't know what's about to happen next. I'm leaving my little safety bubble of Christianity or family. Man, just hold on to me. That's really just my prayer. Just hold on to me. Give me a group of guys that love you, that also want to have fun. I'm not about this boring life. I want to have fun. But just give me some guys who love you, and let's make much of it. And he's been faithful every step of the way.
That was your prayer? Anyways, man, I'm here with my friend Daniel.
So what's up?
Tell us about yourself, man. Where you from first?
So I am from Atlanta, Georgia. About 15 minutes north of Atlanta. Small town called Austell, Georgia. I guess it's growing now, but that's the stomping grounds. That's where all my siblings are at. Family, siblings are all in Atlanta, and then pretty much did life all up there. Grew up out there.
Yeah.
High school, middle school, and then college was about 10, 15 minutes away. And then made the jump to the Marine Corps.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oh, we're jumping right in. We're jumping right. We're skipping past everything. Yeah. We're jumping right in.
Jumping right in.
The Marine Corps.
The Marine Corps.
So you went from Atlanta to the Marine Corps. Was that the plan or?
No, the plan was always to stay in Atlanta.
Oh, for real?
Live in Atlanta, yeah. Go to flight school in Atlanta, and then just do life out there. Just because I loved it.
Yeah,
it's an awesome city. And then graduate college, or graduation's coming up, and you're just like, oh, what's the plan? And you start planning around, and you're like, man, I don't have that much money. And then you start looking at flight school, and you're like, dude, that's about $80,000.
Oh, for real?
I don't have $80,000. That's when the military came to school. They were like, we need pilots. And then next thing you know, I'm in the office signing my life away.
Oh, man.
And telling my dad, hey, this is what's coming up next. And then that's what happened.
But what about the Air Force? They might have needed pilots too.
They did. But I wanted the challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt like, you know what, on my deathbed, right, looking back, would I regret some things? And I was like, man, I'm still young. I still got the youth, vitality. Why not do the best or do the hardest? Do some hard things now.
Yeah.
You know? And there was just something about the Marine Corps and how they treated people. I guess they're people. I was like, let's see if we can do this.
Yeah.
And then everything, checked off, passed all the initial requirements, and I was out.
Man,
yeah,
that's crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when I think about the Marine Corps, I'm like, man, they don't really advertise.
No, they don't have to advertise much, just like brief 30-second commercials. That's it. You know? And then outside of that, it's a calling, I think.
Yeah.
It really is a calling because you got to be a little bit crazy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. You got to be a little bit crazy, a little bit wild. Because not everybody, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you? I think I told you about this, but I had a friend who was supposed to join. I think it was like the Air Force or something, and it was I went to a college prep school, so most everybody went to college after, and so he was like, "No, I'm not going. I gotta." He was older than me, but he was like, "I'm not gonna go to college." I'm like, "Oh, why are you not going to college?" That was weird, And he said, "No, I need to work, get money, and I'm gonna join the military." I'm like, okay, cool. He was gonna join the Air Force. I'm like, sick. Yeah, that's cool. I was like, they're offering him a good package, good money, all of those things. 2 months later, during the summer, right, I'm going into my junior year. Yeah. He's graduated. I see him on the bus. I'm like, hey, bro, how you doing, man? You ready to go to the Air Force? And he's like, not going to the Air Force no more. I'm like, where are you going? He was like, Marines. I don't know anything about the military. I'm like, oh, they offer you, but I know that you just told me that you needed the money, you need a better package, all those things. I said, oh, they offer you more money? And he goes, no, it's less money. I'm like, what they giving you? And he goes, pride. I said, bro, they got you, dog. Yeah, they got you, man. But he ended up serving and he loved it. And
and he
didn't regret it. Yeah, okay. He didn't regret it. He didn't go to full 20, I don't think, but he did a while in there. Yeah. But he said they offered him. I was like, oh, my man.
I don't know. He probably saw the uniform and was like, that's a bad uniform.
Yeah. So probably, bro. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, they ain't trying to be flashy at all.
No.
Man.
But they pull the best out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, they break you down, but then they really do pull the best out of you and just make you think, or just make you really believe in yourself. And that was probably the biggest thing. Like, growing up, playing sports, right, blah, blah, you got to have some type of confidence, right? But I think the hardest thing and the most difficult thing was leading your peers, especially guys that are like you, girls that are like you, motivated, self-motivated, you know. And then I think that was probably the toughest challenge. And then getting in there, and then you're just like, hey, I can do this too. And then it just instilled this crazy confidence, you know. Sometimes it was a little too much, I think, but it was really cool to see it happen. Yeah.
So you go from when I was in college.
Yeah.
I went from college. I graduated.
Right.
I got a job, and it was I got a job.
Yeah.
And I was struggling mentally.
Right.
Just thinking.
Yeah.
By second week, I was like, I just wake up and I go to work.
Right. Yeah.
What was it like for you transitioning? Because that's just transitioning from college to a regular job. What is it like transitioning from college, like you were a student, right into the military?
Oh man, it was rough, to be honest. Right, I was not coming from a military family. I was not into ROTC. Not that people wanted me to do ROTC. I'm like, no chance. You know, I want a normal life, right? And then they try to prep you a little bit, and then you get thrusted in it. Man, nothing can get you prepared for that. And so for me, it was rough. Like getting yelled. I'm like, at this point, I started a little bit late. I was like 25, 26 when I joined. So I'm getting yelled at by men who are only like 5 years older than me. Some of them even my age. I'm like, why is this grown man yelling at me? But just kind of play the game. And then I knew at least that initial training wasn't going to last forever. And then later on is when the transition really happened, when you're, you make it to what's called the operating forces or whatever, right? You make it to the job. And then you just see like, man, I got so much responsibility, right? I think the tough part for me was just the sheer demand of everything. You got to be in the best shape of your life for the most part, right? Because you got people watching. I guess the big thing was just the eyes. You got so many eyes on you. So there's pretty much very little room for excuses, right? So you got to lead your peers well. You got to lead your, whether it's troops below or above you well, mostly below. You got to lead yourself well. And for me, thankfully, at that time, I was single, and so it was easy to, still single, but it was easy to go through that.
He's still single.
Still single. It was easy to go through that by myself.
You might not be after this, bro.
Oh, man.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's what it is. Life happens, right? Life happens, right?
All 96 of my subscribers will see this, and you will have just kicking down the door. So I don't know. Probably not. But so you had to lead yourself.
Lead yourself.
Yep.
And then I would also see friends of mine who have to lead their families. I mean, you get off work and you're just mad exhausted, right? And all you want to think about is yourself. But then you got to go home and take care of your wife or your husband or your kids or whatnot. So I was really, taken back by those guys and being like, man, I go home, I just want to sleep. I got time for two things. Either I'm going to cook something or work out and then go to sleep. That's all I really had time and thing I wanted to do. So the transition was tough, but eventually you get used to it. You get in the rhythm of things, but it does wear you down, and then, for me, thankfully being a believer that whole time, man, I think the biggest thing was just being like, man, there's a source I can tap into, right? Because there's a lot of times where you failed. There's a lot of times you did really well. But just for me, in the hard times and in the good times, right, just leaning back on Jesus was probably the biggest thing that got me through.
So you were, you said you were a Christian at the time. Were you a Christian? You were a Christian growing up, or?
So I was raised Catholic.
Hold up.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, raised Catholic. All the way from pretty much, man, early as I can remember, all the way till I graduated high school. Public school my whole life until I got middle school. Right, 6th grade was public school, but did the whole thing on Sunday, but didn't really walk it out at all. And then my parents, who were big in education, took us out of the public school system. It wasn't as good where we were, put us in a private school. I go from all my childhood friends to people who don't look like me. They talk different, they act different. And I was like, where am I? I don't want to be here. And so we ended up staying at that school for the next, pretty much from 7th grade through 12th grade. And it was my 8th grade year where I was like, I guess I'm not leaving. So let's see what this place is about. There's a private Christian school. And then that's where, started playing sports really even big time there. And then crazy story, but Marshall football team, the plane crash that happened years ago.
Yeah.
One of the surviving players on that team came and spoke to our team, shared his testimony, shared just like his walk, his life before Jesus, after Jesus. And then, that night at my coach's house, all of us football players were there. and I gave my life to Christ. As my brother and I were both there, same time. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's your twin brother, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then just grew in my Christian walk from, coaches and teachers that whole time. And then, high school came up or graduation came up, and it's crazy. I think I had one prayer request or just one prayer as I was graduating. I was working at Six Flags selling lemonade,
Nice.
Overpriced, $4.
$4 lemonade.
The most overpriced lemonade you'll ever taste.
That would be a good deal today, though.
Oh yeah, today it's just normal.
Oh yeah.
Back then it was either gas or lemonade. So you couldn't do both. It's a long day at work. I'm getting ready. It's like my final couple of weeks. I'm like, God, I don't know what's about to happen next. I'm leaving my little safety bubble of Christianity or family. Man, just hold on to me. That's really just my prayer. Just hold on to me. Give me a group of guys that love you, that also want to have fun. I'm not about this boring life. Mm-hmm. Want to have fun, but just give me some guys who love you, and let's make much of it. And he's been faithful every step of the way.
That was your prayer?
That was my prayer.
In high school?
High school, 18 years old.
Wow, you cut from a different cloth.
Yeah.
Some people are going into, I'm not going to say who, but some people are praying like, Lord, I'm going to get crazy. Just keep me safe.
Just keep me safe. No, it was.
Just keep me safe.
I think the big thing was just, man, I like what I grew out of or grew in, right? I was around, the music I used to listen to was, I'm from Atlanta, mm-hmm. right? And hip hop capital of the world. And man, if you could, but a lot of people probably don't know, And so the music was just trash, right? At least looking back. But then that was life, mm-hmm. right? And it talked about.
And by trash, you mean not sonically, just
right
content.
Yeah, just content, right? And so just like degrading women, or it was just all about self and whatever you got to do to get out of whatever you got to get out of life, you got to do it, expensive, whatever. And so that's where I was headed. And then, man, like these childhood friends I had, I switched schools, and then like 2 years later, I hear about them. They're in jail. And I'm like, what do you mean he's in jail? All 4 of them are in jail. And so that's where I was headed. And so I knew, like, okay, that's not it. That's not life, right? Or at least that's new life I'm in. Because I knew where I was headed. If I stuck with that, I was going to be where my friends were. Now their lives are over for the most part, And so that's why I prayed that. Like, I know what I can do, and I can get myself in trouble. And so, God, you got to hold on to me, because we're about to go. It's going to be an adventure, but you got to hold on to me. And that's what he's done. Wow.
Do you think some of that followed you? Like that kind of focus. That seems like you were focused on wanting to follow Jesus,
right?
From an early. That's early.
Yeah, early. Yeah,
we're involved in youth group, and it's not like that for everybody.
Not like it, no.
And so, do you think that part of that came from the way you were raised, even though you were raised Catholic?
Right.
Like, is it something your parents instilled in you, or like what was it?
It's kind of twofold, right? I had my parents were really big on just like discipline and just like obviously school and doing really good there, staying focused. Like my dad, for my brother and I, if we scored anything below a B, that was it. He was going to pull us off the team because he saw the potential, right? And he was like, you guys are about to waste this. So anything less than a B, he was like, nope. So I remember I brought home my first C, progress report. I could never get geometry. I tried so hard. Pythagorean theorem, that's all I knew. Vertical angles are congruent, that's all I do, right?
Oh, bro. I found out SOHCAHTOA was not a Native American chief.
No. That was a cheat code, right? Yeah. That's so funny, man. So we had the discipline at a young age, right? But more on my Christian walk, man, it came from like my teachers and my big time, like my coaches, right? My brother and I were super close to our high school basketball coach. And he almost treated us like a son. Actually, he treated us like his son. And he just showed us like what it means to just like love your wife. We got to see him love on his wife and his kids. And like the coaches probably played the biggest impact. And then also having some, we had a really good like friend group and seeing their families. So that's what really like changed or molded us. And then we're like, okay, this is what it means. This is what it looks like, not this. Because I know what the other side looks like, and it's just a lot of hurt and pain. Yeah. So, yeah.
Man. Yeah. That makes so much sense, though. Mm-hmm. So you saw two different realities is what it was.
Right.
And you knew, I don't want this one. Because I think for a lot of Christian, like, people in high school, their faith has to become their own, right? At some point. Right. But because of being sheltered, you know. And I'm talking about the kind of the worst case scenario of being sheltered, where you're not introduced to anything else in the world.
Yeah.
There's this curiosity about the world. They don't see the dark side of the things that the world has to offer. And so it looks a little pleasing to them. But man, I hear so many stories of kids after either falling away. Yeah, we hear those. But I'm talking about the kids that do come back after 4 years of not following Jesus and like, man, I'm empty. I went to college and I'm empty. And I did all these things and I gave myself to all these things. I had fun and I feel empty. I was just talking with somebody about that. And yeah, so it's interesting that you had that focus as a young guy following Jesus.
Yeah.
And so you kind of leaned on your faith in your basic training and all that.
Yeah. Pretty much on my whole military time. Man, made some great friends, right? And you talked about just people that come back and say, "Man, I'm empty." Like I saw it there too. You know, had friends who shared, even roommates at times, who were just like, you know, just had questions like, "Man, I shouldn't have done that." Or that you saw the regret from like the previous night decisions or whatever. And so, you know, didn't have a lot of like, this is the way you should walk. This is da da da. You know, didn't have a lot of that, but just had the example. And now I'm starting to see how that example paid off. Got some of them reaching back and just being like, "Yo, man, I got questions." Or another guy just hit me up about a couple of months ago. He goes, "Hey, man, I'm interested about this whole Christianity thing." So that's been kind of cool to see that.
And you've been here for a minute, so
right, yeah. I mean, I haven't talked to some of them in years.
Wow.
Right, and then just seeing the ramifications 2.5 years later. Yeah, it's been really cool.
So how do you do something? I want to get to a little bit of your career,
right?
As it progresses, like right after training, like how do you end up becoming a pilot in the Marines?
Got to go through flight school. And then, you know, if you make it through flight school, there's progression through there. You get to pick like what you want to do and hopefully fly. And then if you got the grades, and timing, it's all about timing too. If you got the grades and the timing works out, then you might get what you want, whether you want to go fly jets or whether you want to go fly, you know, cargo planes or helicopters.
So which helicopter did you fly?
No helicopters. I don't trust helicopters at all. Not this guy. I didn't like helicopters at all.
What'd you fly?
So I started off in what's called a T6 Bravo. It's a pretty fast convertible almost, which is what you do in trainer world. And then I eventually got attached to a jet squadron where, you know, flew F-18s and it was really just did that. But mostly my ground job was an aviation maintenance officer. So kind of monitoring a lot of peers, or not really peers, but like a lot of Marines under me and just keeping the jet safe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, is the energy, like, I know that movies are movies, but is the energy among pilots, is it so you play football?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this isn't a bad thing, but if you got a quarterback, you don't want a kind of down and out quarterback. You want a quarterback that walks with his head held high, chest up, knows what he's talking about, confidence. Right. Is it like that? Like what they show in Top Gun? Like is it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, you got
alpha.
Yeah, just really confident in yourself, you know, and because you're handling, you know, multi-million-dollar worth of equipment, and so you got to be confident in your knowledge and your skill set in so many areas, especially when things go bad, you know, and just trying to remember everything. Like, yeah, I can do this, you know. So yeah, it exudes that confidence. Well, they build that in you. And then when you're like, oh man, I'm doing all this, there's nobody in the back anymore, you know, it's just me, you know. That's what they really try and push for. But yeah, pretty much just like Top Gun.
Dude, I think in some ways that what it seems like they've tapped into with like your basic training and things like that, they tap into it with sports. And I wish everybody got to experience it, maybe even wrestling, things like that.
Right.
But the idea that breaking you down, getting yourself to like this place where you feel like you're just a pulp,
right,
and then from there building you up, is, I think that's kind of what they're tapping into, and they aren't original, right? God is the one to do that, right? Like Romans 5, that's what he does. We rejoice in the suffering because suffering is producing some good stuff in us that you can't see right now,
right?
And I just see this just connection between that, the idea that, man, there are times when God takes you through things himself, and it's not stuff that's pleasant. It's not stuff that feels good in the moment.
Right.
But man, you come out on the other side and you're not the same anymore.
You're not the same. Yeah, exactly. Spot on. That's what they do. Because you're getting this pool of people from different walks, life, beliefs, everything. And then you got to get us to work together, believe in each other. And it's like, okay, how do we do this? We got to tear whatever they think, whatever they know. Even cats that have gone to like service academies and they're parents have been in the military their whole career, they'll still tear you down, because we got to get everybody on the same playing field. Yeah. I mean, some people might have it a little bit of an advantage, but like you said, God's the originator, right? And that's what he does with us, right? The moment we come to know Jesus, man, we see like our sin, and we're like, man, I'm not as holy as I thought I was. Mm-hmm. I'm not as perfect as I thought I was, right? And that's what he did with me. For growing up Catholic, right, it was all about external things, all the stuff that you did. Man, I went to church, I prayed the rosary however many times this week, got baptized, you're just checking. For me, it was just checking off all these boxes. But there was no heart change. And then when I, really saw what it was about to follow Jesus, and he opened my heart, my eyes to see my sin. And it just broke down everything. It's like, man, you're not that good of a person. And this is your issue. This is your issue. This is your issue. You just got all these lies, all this sin, right? That I gotta make you clean. And when he did that, then he got us all on the same team. And then now I can start loving you. I can start loving others well. We can plant a church together, right? We can do things together in the body of Christ. We can serve together. We can do, whether it's overseas, locally, but we have so many different experiences of life, right? And I think that's probably the most beautiful thing about this Christian walk, man. Just the people, right? The people from all different backgrounds and walks. I tell people a lot of times, man, I think the gospel cancels, not necessarily cancels culture, but it changes, right? Hold on to your culture. But everything that you thought, I only got to be around these types of people, man, the gospel just changes that.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
I've seen that in. Actually, you just said something that I just thought about right now. Mm-hmm. Did you say that because of the gospel, God allows you to love people that's different from you, and to plant churches together? Because strangely, I'm a part of a church plant.
Right.
And you can be a part of the church if you want. I'm sorry, Harvard Town. I'm sorry. He said it, not me. The Spirit was moving. The Lord was speaking through you just there.
He was.
No, but that's so true. I wish that people could. So I imagine that with the Marines, right? There's a bond. There's a natural bond.
Right. Yeah.
You guys been through hell and back.
Right. Yeah.
With anybody that you see that's in the Marines, probably.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about Christianity is, all of us have a unique kind of connection to each other. Our Savior has been through hell and back for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so there can't be any bravado about it because we all suck. Mm-hmm. But that unites us more than anything else, man. That because you and I are able to connect right away because we're boys.
Right.
Because Jesus died for us.
Exactly.
And I wish that more people that I'm not into traveling like that, but one of the benefits I've seen of traveling is when you go around the world, you meet a Christian. Right. Instant connection. Instant. Yeah.
And that was something crazy. Just quick story. Yeah, I went to, I don't know. We'll say. I'm just gonna say the word. I went to Moscow 10 years ago. Right, Christian trip. 4 or 5 of us college students, and we were doing some extreme sports camps there. All believers, and we got paired with other believers there. What you were just talking about, immediate connection. And I'm like, man, I don't look like anybody here, right? I stand out. You can see me from 2 miles away. So, you know what I'm saying?
Because why?
Well, it's just because the sun. Because of the sun. I was playing. But then, man, we had this instant connection where I was just 30 days later when we were leaving, I was depressed because I didn't want to leave and it wasn't anything fancy. It was just the connection that we had with them there. And that kind of just stirred in my heart coming back home because at the time I was getting ready to graduate college. I had some really close friends. And we had gone and served in different places of the world. And we came back and we were like, this doesn't make sense. I see you guys every week, or I go to this church every week, and I don't have any kind of connection. I just see people Sunday to Sunday. And I was like, that's not it, man. I don't think that's it. And then we got serious about Scripture, just seeing, what did Jesus do and his disciples? And then we saw, they met every day for the most part. They did life together. Broke bread together, probably played sports together, did all kinds of, you can do this stuff together. So that's what really motivated us to say, man, let's really do life together. And that kind of I took ownership of that personally myself, and some of the churches I decided to join, I was like, man, I'm just not going to be a Sunday to Sunday Christian. Where is that? Right. Nobody's life is that perfect. Right.
Yeah.
Why are you like on Monday or Wednesday after work, after kids, and you're just worn out, right?
Yeah.
I want to see the real you. I want you to see the real me. Right. And that's the beauty of the gospel, man. That's the beauty of this Christian faith, and just walking and you see, like, life, everybody goes through life. How can we do it together? How can I love on you and your family? How can I serve you as I walk my faith, your faith? And that just brings us closer together. So spot on. Yeah,
that's good, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I always trip out when people are when they're talking about just not feeling close to the church, not feeling connected.
Yeah,
and a lot of it I see, man. If you serve, you're gonna get connected. Oh, yeah, if you spend time, you're gonna get connected. You know, right. And the churches do have to, like, the church. If you're mature, if you're a believer, you got a lot going on. You got a family, all those things. Look out for other people. Yeah. Look out for other people. Invite them in, because it's hard for people. So if you do recognize, man, I want to connect with more believers, then go connect with more believers. But on the other side, people that feel a little distant from the church, man, if you just stepped in and served somewhere, you're going to get connected. Just spending time together. Yeah. And the church isn't a perfect place, but, man, God has really blessed the church. Man.
He has, yeah.
And as messed up as the church is, it's still, I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how I could live without the church, in the sense of, like, man, all the benefit I get, the prayer that's there, the support, and things like that. And some people never experience that because they never really dive in to community, you know. And community is great on the surface, until community slaps you in the face and confronts you for your sin. But that's part of it, though. You need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the best things that ever happened to me as a young man was I was newly married, and you and me, we kind of got a shared experience where we're in churches where people just didn't look like me. You know, it's whatever. You know, my flesh fights against that. In this situation, I'm going to share. Yeah. So, you know, we got issues going on. We're arguing about something, and then you know, my pastor finds out about it, and so my community group leader, and he takes me to ask me to go get dinner or lunch or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know he knows anything, so I'm excited. I'm like, what?
Yeah, free dinner?
I'm 22. I'm 23. You know, like, let's go. Let me go get me this dinner. Yeah. So I end up going, and we're sitting there. I'm eating, and then I noticed that he's not eating that much, and he just like, hey man, I want to talk to you about something. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, at the time he wasn't married yet, and the way he shared this was so epic, bro. He goes, I'm not married yet. I'm gonna be married. I'm engaged. Yeah. But as somebody who's engaged, I'm looking to you to show me what it looks like to love my wife as Christ loved the church. I don't know what that's like. Right. But you're married. And I was younger than him. Right. And he's like, show me how. Show me how. And then he went to Genesis and was like, Satan is crouching at your door. His desire is for you, but you must rule over it, you know? And then pointed me to scriptures that say that I'm empowered by the Holy Spirit to rule over my sin, you know? That you don't have to be angry. You don't have to snap. You don't have to do any of that. You can love your wife despite how you think she might treat you. Exactly. And when I look back at the situation, I was wrong. Right. What's funny is I left that and was like, I ain't never going back to that church no more. I was like, peace. Nobody gonna talk to me like that. Right. He don't understand what's going on in my life. And community group was that night. Yeah. And
same day.
Same day. So I drove home angry. And then God got a hold of me and was like, he did the right thing, man. Yeah. That was hard for him to do. Right. He told me years later, that was hard. Yeah. What's crazy is the best decision I ever made after my community group leader confronted me over my sin, not publicly, took me to dinner, paid for the dinner. If you're going to confront somebody, buy their coffee, buy their lunch, exactly. Okay? Help them out. Yeah. And so he paid for all of that. And dude, I'm driving home. I repent to the Lord on my drive back. I repent to my wife. And so I'm fuming when I leave. Right. By the time I get home, I'm like, okay, I gotta repent. Yeah. I repent. We get in the car. We go to community group that night. Show our face. And I didn't want to do that. Right. And nobody knew. He greeted me like nothing happened. Yeah. Like I was his boy. Right. Still. Yeah. Didn't treat me any type of way. And that showed me, I think, having that experience early on in my walk with Jesus and my relationship, my marriage too, showed me the value of Christian community. It's huge, yeah. You know, Christian community, and the way he did it, right? You know, buying me the cow beef.
Yeah. You didn't see it coming. Straight blindside.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. Yeah. But you know what? I'm glad I ordered the cow beef though. I deserve that.
You deserved it.
I deserved
Yeah.
I deserved a copy. No, but I needed that.
Right.
And young men, we need that.
So true. Because we're already puffed up. We're already conceited, right? And then especially if you come from like, sports background or military background or whatever background where you've always been the guy. And then, everybody looks at you. You're used to being that spotlight. And then to have somebody just be intentional and real with you and be like, no, I can see the real you. And the real you, that's not it, right? That's not leading your wife well. That's not serving others well. And that's what, man, community is so important. And like you said, you went to community that night and you were different, right? Yeah. And there's so many times I've not wanted to show up to community group. Maybe day went really bad. Maybe I'm just not even feeling the best. So I'm not really feeling community. And then I end up going. And by the time I leave, man, I forget everything that happened that day, right? And I'm able to sleep well at night. Just there's just something about God, his peace, his presence with his people. Mm-hmm. And that you just can't find that anywhere else. Yeah. I've got some really great friendships from military days, from sports days, but there's nothing like the relationships I have with people that walk with Jesus. Yeah. So true.
Amen. Yeah. I tell our community group all the time, we meet at our house, and I tell them all the time, hey, I know that there's nights when you're going to be sitting in that driveway, right, and you're going to think, we should just peel out. We're not ready for this. Yeah. And I said, when that happens, just come inside. Just come inside. Come eat. Yeah. You can leave if you need to after you eat, but come eat. Right. Yeah. Both of you guys come eat and let's talk with this. And even just everybody, that's what the church is here for. I think a lot of times what makes it hard is we talk about our sin in past tense.
Right. Right. Right.
I used to struggle with this, but I don't know more. Right. And it's like, oh yeah, but and then there's a feeling like, let's not talk about the sin I'm struggling with because everybody struggles with past tense sins.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's where it gets difficult to share because you feel like you're the only one struggling with sins.
Right. Right. And we see in 1 John, he says, I'm writing to you when you sin. Right. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, hold on. That's also future. Right. And man, it's just an ever growing race of just holiness and pruning. And I think that's the thing our yesterday was bad, but I'm good today. Right. No, you're also almost just as jacked up today. And you need that present grace and that future grace. And that's what God is. And I think it's obviously so easy for us to forget it. I forget it all the time. Yeah. And having that community, right? And having, whether it's other men or women, being able to do what they did, like call you out on stuff, but at the same time do it in love and grace and just remind you like, oh yeah, before I get puffed up, because I can do it easily, this is who I really am. Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. For you, so my adult life, right. I had different jobs, but generally speaking, kind of quickly after I got married, God called me to ministry, and I've been in ministry since my first year of marriage. But I wanted to ask you, just from your experience, you've been in the military, you've been all over the world, doing high stakes jobs. What is it like for you, just in the context of your own life, sharing the gospel with people that don't know Jesus, in a job where like, right. Dude, we don't have time for this right now.
Right.
Because for me, I'm always around believers. Like when there's unbelievers, the time I'm around most unbelievers, as far as like, when it comes to evangelistic opportunities, it'll be church. Right. Yeah. But I work for the church, and so unless I'm out with my kids and interacting with different people, and I just still have friends that aren't believers and things like that. But on a regular day-to-day basis, I hope I'm not hanging around a bunch of unbelievers because our church would be in trouble because I hang out with the pastors. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have as much opportunity during my work day. So what is it like? What has it been like for you just talking about your faith? Because you said that people are calling you years later.
Yeah.
So what is the way that you were kind of a presence of the Lord, taking that into the workplace?
Man, honestly, like I think sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be, right? We got to think, man, I got to say the right things at the right time, blah, blah, blah. Man, looking back, I don't think I ever said a word. Not like sharing, like, okay, I'm never going to talk about Jesus, right? Most of the times, I think what surprised me was it was always like in the mundane stuff, right? Not so much like, of course, we knew we all had a job to do, a mission to do, whatever. We're all on the same team here. But what I found out was like, man, God presented just unique opportunities, right? For example, one of them was we were just grabbing dinner and with me and another friend, and we just started talking about family. And then before you know it, I was just sharing about my family, how I grew up, and then where I'm at and what brought me here and the decisions I made. And then I got to share a little bit about, walking with Jesus or private Christian school, blah, blah. And then he was just like, man, how was that like? How was it like? Da, da, da. And then they almost did the hard part for me. They were the ones asking me the questions, right? And so I'm like, okay, I just got to tell them what Jesus did. He put me in this school. I did this. So my coaches were instrumental. And that just continually happened. Another time we were on a hike, and, we're actually out here on a hike. It's just me and another buddy of mine. And that's all it was. He was just asking questions. We were just talking more. And we've been working together for about 6-7 months at this time. And I still didn't know much about him. But then on this, 4-mile hike, we were just talking about life in general. And then I think a lot of times was also how people saw how I reacted to things. When I should have boiled over, should have been upset, should have been frustrated, right? Maybe I didn't get the position I wanted. Maybe I didn't get the duty station I wanted, or whatever. Most of it was just like, man, I don't know. I just remember how you reacted. That's what too from some days. Like, you just seemed different. You didn't get upset when everybody else in the room was cursing or throwing, just upset about stuff. You were different, and that's how a lot of stuff just happened. It was not even me. All right, this is Jesus. Da da da. Matthew says this. Mark says this. John 3:16. It was none of that. Hardly any. It was just conversations, and a lot of times I think it just really came down to like, man, they can sense your heart. They can sense your intentions. And for me, it's just like, okay, I want to get to know people. I want to get to know this guy and this girl and these people. And then the rest was done for me. That was probably the coolest part. Because I was also in a similar boat, right? I went to a private Christian school. I was around Christians all the time. Got in college, got involved in campus ministry, was around Christians all the time. Right. And that's when I realized, man, do I even know how to hang out with non-Christians? Like, I don't even know how to talk to them, And then that's when I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going in a completely different path now, and the Lord just kind of held on to me. And I think the biggest thing was just not over-forcing anything, but just get to know people. Yeah.
And letting it's like, as you're sharing, I'm thinking about that passage where Paul talks about the way we're all an aroma, right? To some lead from death to death, but to others we're the aroma of life, right? Exactly. To those who are being saved. Yeah. And I think about that, like, man, you're just everyday life, living your life, the way you respond, the way you react, that opens up opportunities for you to present the gospel. People ask because you're different. Right. Yeah. And I'm just thinking about the way the gospel spread in the early church and how they were weirdos because they would give up their own food to feed someone else, or they would give up the shirt off their back to make sure their neighbor was clothed, And so it's this life. Right. It's basically living out the implications of the gospel.
That's all it is. That is all it is. It's so simple is what I'm starting to see now, man. It's so simple. Just live your life day to day. But live it as you're pleasing the Lord. Like, okay, God, I'm going to study because I want to please you and do well with this. Obviously, everything else, sure. But then people watch. I think that's the biggest thing I tell folks, man. People are watching, especially us believers. And you'll be surprised how effective that is. Right? I'm not telling you to shy away from never talking to anyone, but the questions are going to come. They're going to come. It's just, will they match up how you're living? Because then they'll also ask you the other questions. Hey, man, I thought don't you go to such and such church? Right? Then they see you where you shouldn't be or doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Then that kills it, right? So they're watching both sides. So,
yeah. That's awesome, man. So you're in the military. Ever since I met you, man, like I didn't even know you flew planes or anything like that. You just would never tell me anything until I think I pressed you on it. What did you do? You're like, I flew these guys. I'm like, oh my goodness. But how did you just accomplishing the things you've accomplished, right? Accomplishing the things you've accomplished, going through the things you've gone through. Intelligent guy. Stay so humble, man. God knew that he couldn't make me a pilot, bro. I'd be like, you know I'm a pilot, bro. I'd walk. What's up? My name is Christian. I'm a pastor at Harbor Church. I've been a pilot. I'm a pilot as well. I've accomplished a lot of things in life. But well, for you, what is it?
Man, this is going to sound crazy. So I think a lot of it comes from my mom. She was, when she died when I was really young, but I guess we took a lot of her personality and charisma. And she was just, from what my uncles tell me, or some of her brothers, or just people that knew her well, she was very just really humble and sweet. So I think part of it is that, but I think it's going to be crazy. I think the biggest learning lesson for me was sports, right? My brother and I are super competitive with each other, and so one's always going to one up the other. And I was starting point guard for our basketball team. You know, that's a big deal. You're the go man. And then, you know, I could score. There were some games I was putting up 15 points, 25 points. I think I had a really high scoring game one time. And man, I was so happy. I scored like 25 points, right? Couple of steals, a few rebounds, 0 assists, right? And I'm celebrating.
Young Kyrie Irving.
Young Kyrie,
young
right?
Kyrie.
Yeah. So I'm celebrating. I'm having a good time. But then I'm looking at my teammates. Yo, look at what I did. Nobody was happy.
Oh.
And I was like, man, that's so strange. No one's happy. But we won by like 20 points. Look at, you know, we won. But none of my teammates were happy. And that, I don't know, man, it sounds crazy, but that just hit me really hard. And I was in 7th grade. It just hit me really hard. And I was like, man, no one else on this team is happy but me. And then from that day on, I said, you know what? I just care about you guys being happy. I care about my brother being happy. I care about, you know, I'll still take you to school, you know, but I want to see you guys just as happy. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You know, I ain't going to give it to you that easy, but I want to see you guys happy. So I flipped a switch and I said, man, if I score 2 points, who cares? I'd rather have 2 points and 10 assists, but we get to celebrate. And I think that and then every year after that brought so much joy to me, right? Just being able to facilitate and see other people happy. And I think that, I didn't realize I learned that at the time. And then I think that carried on with me in life where I know I can do all these awesome things, but how can I bring other people with me? How can I share this with other people? So that it's not about me. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not perfect. I still struggle with like, man, look at what I can do, blah, blah. But I don't know. The Lord just really, he showed me that at a very early young age. Like, man, it's about everybody else. And how can you impact them and how can you love on them and make their lives just as exciting as yours? And he just showed me that. And so I guess I just do less bragging because I know where it's going to take me. It's not because I'm some awesome person. I just know where it's going to take me in my head and how it's just going to really puff me up. Just like I was scoring 25 points, a long time ago. That just really will puff me up. And I said, all right, man, I just can't be that guy. And so now I just take my time with it, and until you get to really know me, well, I love to share like other stuff, but then you know my heart. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, this is what he's about. It's not a humble brag. That's just who he is. Yeah. And I think that's where it stems from.
Yeah. Cause you're never like not confident or anything like that. Right. Like that's false humility.
Exactly.
That's not what you want.
Right.
But I never get that feeling from you. And so it's been cool. Just being your friend, man. Like when you just find out like, man, Dan's done a lot. I think I found out at my house.
Right.
I think you came over for Christmas and that's when you were talking to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what did you do? And I was like, he did what?
Right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know he did that. So just hearing that, I think about what Paul tells the Philippians, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's Philippians. And he tells them, have this mind which is yours in Christ Jesus, right? Who, though being in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, a thing to be held on to, you know what I mean? But he empties himself by taking the form of a servant. I think about that, like, man, that's God taught you that lesson early of self-forgetfulness, right? Like humility isn't C.S. Lewis, right? It isn't thinking of yourself. It isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less.
Exactly.
And I'm like, man, I didn't learn that lesson until way later, man. Right. You learned that early, and then we're able to kind of. It seems like God, going back, it just seems like God's working in your life at a young age, and so when you get saved, you're already off and running. Like, you ain't trying to dip your toe. You ain't trying to play with the world. Right.
Yeah.
One thing to speak about when it comes to that though is more than a lot of people I know. I know 2 people like this. One, my wife, and then you. Mm-hmm. Where music is a really big deal. Yeah. The things you listen to, the things you consume, matters a lot. Like you really got, even my wife, she was always like that, where I want to meditate. I want to think about things that are above. Yeah. I don't even want to dabble in things that aren't like explicitly giving glory to God. So for you, why is that important?
Man, like I said, growing up in Atlanta, underground Atlanta was what it was called way back. The music, hip hop capital of the world. Like you don't realize how much of an impact it's playing on you until you start like talking with people, or people might ask you, hey man, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or even like what you look for in a girl, as far as like maybe somebody that you might want to spend, forever with or whatever, just potential. And then you realize how just surface level all that was. And that's what, for me, I was just hearing, all the music I was listening to. Man, if you guys could meet my brother and I, you won't even believe it. Like we had mixtapes, mix CDs, right? We'll spin it and burn it for you. Whatever requests you got, right? Write them down. We'll take it back home and we'll play it. We'll put together a CD for you.
By the way, I wanted an Eminem CD from my friend back in the day, and he gave me a CD full of Obi Trice.
You did your
dirty,
like,
bro. Man. I wanted Eminem. I was like, I wanted Eminem. It was like $1. I listened to the CD at home. You got
right.
Oh, this ain't Eminem.
This is not it.
All right, so you grew up there. That's the context.
That context, and that was not just at home. Like what I was, because we our parents were not about it. Us listening, so we'll do it in secret, right? But then you go to school. Everybody's the exact same, right? And then. That just, again, I didn't realize it at the time, but I just knew like all the things I just wanted it just wasn't good, right? The girl's got to be like this, or she's got to think like this, or look like this, and she's got to wear this, and it's just all external stuff. And then I quickly tied it back to then when I got saved, my brother and I did something crazy. We went back home, right, that night, and we, this was 100, probably about 50 or more CDs, right? We took them all and just broke them all.
Oh.
Like we were hurting, we were breaking them, but at the same time, we're like, these got to go. And so we broke them all, threw them all away. And then for me, like I made a like complete turnaround from hip hop. I didn't listen to any Christian
because not to hate,
exactly,
but that was around the time when Christian hip hop wasn't
exactly. It wasn't
what it is.
It was not what it was now. But even just hip hop in general, I had to make that clean break because I was like, man, I remember what that was like for me, right? And it wasn't just hip hop. Whatever you want to interject in there, but that's what I was growing up in. I was like, man, I just remember what that was like, and that was not good music. So anytime like a beat would drop, despite what the song was, it just reminded me of those days, right? And I was like, I can't put myself in that situation. I can't listen to that. And then it wasn't until years later, I started making more friends, other believers who actually also started looking like me a little bit, a little shade to them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then they introduced me to some Christian hip hop, and I was like, what? No. And then part of it, I'm not gonna lie, was pretty lame. Some of it was.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
Oh yeah. It was whack. But then it got better. And then I started listening to some guys like Tripley or KB or Lecrae. And I started also hearing like, okay, they've got some talent, right? The beats are good, but then it was the lyrics, the content, what they were talking about. It was relevant. It was speaking to what I grew up out of, right? And they weren't afraid to address it. They didn't paint a pretty picture of like life was just so perfect growing up, and I just magically woke up one day, decided to follow Jesus, right? They painted a true picture of the struggles in life, which I would say most people encounter. Right. And then they also painted the hope or the true, picture afterwards. Like, man, then I met Jesus and then this changed. But guess what? Now I'm not rapping for things of this world anymore. Now I'm rapping for Christ. And then got to listen to their content. And I'm like, man, this is really edifying. This is really good. Now I can put people in the car with me and they can listen to this and be like, whoa. And that's actually happened a few times where they're like, man, this guy, he didn't say a single curse word. I was like, yeah, he didn't. And they're like, yeah, what's he talking about? Then we just got to talk about that. And so all that to say, man, what you put in your head does matter, right? It does. It starts in your head and it goes down to your heart. And then out of the heart, right, Jesus talks about it, the mouth speaks. Yeah. But it's just that cycle. And you just got to be careful. I'm not telling you to not listen to stuff, but you got to at least be aware, like, how's it affecting me? Is this ultimately going to be glorifying in the end? And just ask those questions.
And be honest, right? Like one of the things for me that I think early on, I just wasn't an honest Christian about where my mind goes.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to certain songs, I feel a type of way.
Exactly.
I feel a type of way. I joke with my wife. We'd be listening to Drake, and all of a sudden, I feel like I broke up with the stripper I never met.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like I never went through any of that.
Exactly.
And Christians, especially the young Christians, you guys got to be honest about where this music is taking your mind. Right. And it's okay if it's not. Hey, more power to you. You're stronger in this area. Right. But if it is, and it's very likely that it is, dude, be careful. Be careful, and it's okay. And I feel like that's always been kind of your attitude towards it is you've never been, I do it like this and you have to do it like this, but you have been, hey, warning the people we interact with, like, yo, watch where your mind goes when you're listening to music. And it doesn't have to be hip hop or rap. It's any form of music, right? Especially in today's world. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, praise God that the quality is where it's at today. Praise the Lord.
A lot better. Yeah.
Thank you guys. And to all the forerunners that came before, we appreciate you guys for throwing it up so that other believers afterwards can slam it home.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Definitely thankful for it. I remember when I went to my very first 116 concert in Atlanta. Man, it was epic. I was like, yo, this is it, you know? But it was crazy, man. It was a hip hop concert or whatnot, but then it turned into a worship concert at the end. Like, we're singing Chris Tomlin songs, right? And I'm just like, what is happening here? This is off the chain.
Yeah.
And it just turned into like an hour of praise.
Yeah.
And then we walked out of there, and like the people that were doing security, majority non-believers, they were just like, what just happened in there? What's going on? What do you got? And people were asking those questions. Yeah. And so it was so cool, man. And so just seeing how, I think we got to be so careful because we want to define how everyone should walk.
Right.
But last time I checked, man, God created I don't know how many billion people we got on this planet. Everyone is so different and their story is so unique.
Yeah.
And God ultimately it does come through Jesus Christ alone, but he uses all kinds of avenues to bring people to him.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, okay, there is no one solid, strict line, right? And so just like wanting, hey, caution. But you can, if you're strong, you can do, I would just caution you. But just knowing that, like, man, God can use anything.
Yeah.
And he can save him from out of anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I went with my wife to a church one time.
Right.
And I was like, what's the layout of this church? I'm not used to this. I've been at Harbor since I've been an adult.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what's this service like? And she was like, it's an hour of worship. And I'm like, no.
Right. No. Yeah.
No. Like, right. I don't know if people out there have the idea, but I had the idea that, like when you get to heaven, it's going to be a worship service. It's going to be so terrible. I hope not.
Yeah.
But dude, until you come up to some people that got chops and they're really engaged and an hour-long worship flies by like it's a minute.
Right. Yeah.
And it is amazing because when I first experienced that, I was like, wait, we only did 3 songs. And she was like, yeah, it was an hour long. And I was like, that was an hour?
Right.
But it was amazing, like when you're really worshiping God and when you're really like in kind of that fellowship that you feel with a bunch of people who are glorifying God.
Right.
For that's something that's unmatched.
Yeah, unmatched.
Unmatched.
You can't explain it, and you just realize, man, you lose track of everything.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of worship and stuff like that, what has it been like for you? Because just adjusting to Hawaii and the culture out here and the way things are. Yeah. It's different from Atlanta, man.
It's different, but man, the crazy thing is it's how I grew up. All the beaches, whether it's Ala Moana, wherever you may go, right? And you got all the families gathering together and hanging out all day long at the beach, putting up their canopies or tents or whatever it might be, right? Grilling out, or I guess some places they say barbecuing, right? That's what we did growing up, right?
Do you think Hawaii barbecue is barbecue?
Man, I've had some good barbecue.
Oh, you better stop that.
I've had some good barbecue. It is barbecue.
It is barbecue.
It is barbecue.
But it's not good barbecue, you say?
No, it's good. It's good.
It's good.
I'll put it up there in the top 5.
For real? Wait, there's not many places that there's not many top 5.
Put it up there in the top 5, Man, Memphis was amazing.
Okay,
Memphis was incrable.
I was like, there's only like 5 places that make barbecue, so you can't. Top 5 is horrible.
5. Yeah, I know.
That's last place.
This might be last. Might be number 5. It's good.
You're top 5 in the world. Like only America barbecues, bro.
You're right. It's good though. But the culture, man, is the same vibe as I grew up in, and so it reminded me a lot of that, right? At least from a lot of the locals, right? That's what I was like, man. This place this is how I grew up. Getting the whole family, extended family. And we just go to a park and we're there from in the morning till sunset, till after dark. So a lot of that was just stuff I hadn't seen in so long, right? And then I think the biggest adjustment was just it took a little bit of adjustment just getting out of the military frame, right? I think I was still uptight sometimes. I was like, man, just relax. So I think this place helped that a lot more, just to relax a little bit. Not everything has to be so structured, so answered, so timely, because that's just all I was used to. I didn't grow up around the water, right? I actually didn't learn how to swim until I got in the military.
But you're part of the Navy, though.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I couldn't.
That's
swim.
what one guy. That's what one Navy guy told me. He said the Marines are part of the Navy. Well, I don't know this. I don't know this, Dan.
We on paper we are.
I don't know this.
We are,
okay.
Well, we are under the Navy, but those are our cousins.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
Cousins. We'll stop there. No, so,
the first cousins, the second cousin, distant cousin.
Yeah. Some of them are cool. Well, some of them are invited to cook out. Not all of them. But. Yeah, so I didn't grow up around the water, and then I met some friends here, and they kind of introduced me to like whether it's surfing or I love to hike and stuff. So just the mountains here were just super cool, and just I'm not gonna lie, man, they kind of sketch some of them, some of those hikes. But the biggest thing was just like the family environment, like let's do things together outside. That's what reminded me a lot of what it was like for me growing up until maybe end of middle school into high school when everybody becomes independent. No, I don't want to do stuff. But seeing that, I was like, man, this is what I probably have been looking for, because I've lived in a lot of places. I've lived in a lot of places. But as awesome as some of those places were, this probably had the most welcoming. It reminds me a lot of the South too. Really welcoming, but not, hey, I'm gonna still keep my own privacy, right? Like, yeah, you can come hang out with me at the restaurant, but at home, not so much. But my childhood, that's what reminded me a lot. Out here reminds me a lot of my childhood, and that's what really grew me. Or really gravitated me to like thinking about, man, what about long term? Because that's not something I was thinking I was going to do when I came out here, right? I was just going to do my flying thing and then bounce back home or somewhere else. And I was like, man, it's already been 2.5 years, and I don't miss anything. I went home to see some family, but that was it. But I was like, I just really feel like time is just moving so fast. So it was that piece, and then it was also just being able to, for the first time in over 7 years, man, I can choose to stay. I can choose to be planted somewhere. And so that was really appealing to me too. And then I started being connected at Harbor Church, and I started serving and meeting families and people and getting community. And I was like, man, I don't want to leave this, right? I want to grow with this. I want to see what the Lord does with this, where he takes it. And that was a prayer I started praying, like, okay, God, you're doing I can see you're about to do some awesome things through Harbor. I kind of want to be a part of it. I want to see what just happens with all this. So that was another selling point for me to thinking about staying long term. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. I never heard that. I never knew that. I never knew that. Yeah, I think I just never thought about it. But yeah, a lot of people. It's so crazy because we get close to people out here, and
right.
A lot of them leave. Well, we got families leaving here in the next month. Right. Kind of August is the month of goodbyes for our church, but I understand God is sovereign. God moves. If God is able to move and sway kings' hearts, then he can move military families when they need. And we always remind our kids, like, when you move to a new place, your parents might be moving for a job, whatever, but ultimately God is moving you, and he has a community for you. He has a plan for you. Yeah. But it's hard to say goodbye, especially when people come in and they serve so well and things like that. Yeah. But it's also cool, man, to see someone stay. Yeah. I have not seen that very often. And so to see you kind of stay here and roll with us and roll with the church, I'm excited to see what God does through you. Yeah. I'm excited to see how God uses it, and he has a plan for everybody, and I'm thankful that a part of the plan was for you sticking around longer, and I'm excited. I really am excited to see what happens. So what are you up to now?
Yeah, up to now, just getting ready to it's called building phase. So trying to build as many hours flight time as I can. Goal is to get with Hawaiian at some point, hopefully by end of 2024.
Come on, Hawaiian.
Goal. I know, right? I'm coming.
Let's go.
So
he already flew jets.
Yeah, we're ready. So that's the plan. That's the goal. So just I'm going to be doing some aerial survey work, and then also some teaching on the side. I'm just sharing that passion with other people. I just met some friends who were like, hey, I'm about to get out the military, man. Like, can I be one of your first students? And I was like, all right, I've already got, it seems like God's just already got this thing figured out, which he does, right? And he's already given me about 3 or 4 people who are interested as soon as I get this rating. So, I'm looking forward to sharing that passion. And then also planting at some point, right? I want to plant. And so I want my family to come out here and check it out and experience it as well too. You know, my brother's come once. I think he's coming again in a couple of months. So just kind of really excited, looking forward for the different opportunities and just fun that the Lord's going to provide. And then also serving, you know, with the different, just I guess, you know, where I'm living, Kaka'ako area. And just, man, it's been so cool getting to meet people locally there, right? You know, I play basketball every week with some local park guys there, right?
Hold up.
100%. Yeah.
We got to talk about this before we go.
Let's do it.
How hard is it to ball in Hawaii, man? Because you know our court, we're basketball players out here.
Yeah.
What was it like for you coming out and play pickup ball in Hawaii?
All right, I'm gonna be real here.
Be real, and I'm sorry that it's hard for you to get on the courts out here.
So I move out here, and you know I'm driving. First of all, I'm surprised by how many courts I'm seeing out here. I'm like, man, it's a whole bunch of basketball courts out here. That's crazy. I was not expecting that. And then I'm driving by a lot of these different courts from all the way from Waikiki to Kaka'ako, all around the place, right? And I'm just watching some of the talent, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this.
Because it's too good. You scared?
No chance. No chance. I just was like, man, it doesn't look that good. I was from a distance, right? So finally I know, man. I know. But just keeping it 100.
Right.
You know,
keep it 98.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So 9 months go by, right? September,
before you step on a court.
Before I step on a single court, and I'm chilling, hanging in September when I was like, man, let me just go give it a shot, right? So in Waikiki, I go to Paki Park, right? Paki Courts out there. And I was blown away. I get out there, I start playing. Now you know how it is, right? You come around 5:30, 6 o'clock, nobody's there, right? It's just garbage talent, right?
Yeah. That's when I played, Dan. That's when I played, Dan.
Then you transition. Then you started playing at like 8 o'clock. You know, 7:30, 8 o'clock. That's when the
sometimes.
Yeah. And then I was just like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. There's some guys that can play here, both local and you know some transplants, but a lot of local guys too. I was like, man, they really do like it out here. So it was there. I played there a bunch, and went to go play at Aloi a few times. You know, started playing with the guys from Harbor there too, and then eventually bounced over to Kaka'ako, and then word started getting out. Started meeting other more people. They're like, oh, you got to come play Halava, you got to come play Eva, you got to come play Kaneohe. So before you know it, man, my nights, I'm like, I can't make all these courts and all these runs. But then it was just a lot of fun, man. They got a passion for it out here, and I love it. And then I was like, man, they can hoop here too, you know? And, you know, it's just crazy. Just like, how often do I judge things from a distance? How often do I judge people from a distance without even actually getting in there and doing life with them? And that's something that the Lord was just like, yeah, just go have fun with them. You just
Look at that.
know.
The Lord is teaching you stuff through that.
Still teaching.
You see that? He's a better man than me, bro. Because I'll tell you what, I went to Indiana.
Right.
And I was like, I'm a 5'9" center, bro. I rebound, I box out, and I score on the inside. And so I get to Indiana, and I'm trying to play with my college teammates. Yeah. And so, you know, they're DBs, you know, I'm a small, undersized linebacker, you know, barely a linebacker. My coach told me that I play football like a wandering Eskimo. I don't even know what that is, bro. I don't know, but it's offensive. Yeah. Hugh Freeze, if you don't know, Hugh Freeze told me that. Hugh Freeze told me I played like a wandering Eskimo. Wow. Anyways, thank you, coach. Yeah. So what ended up happening is I step on the court and I'm going to play, and I just, bro, I don't know. You know, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
I played in Hawaii.
Right.
I always play power forward or center in Hawaii.
Right.
I'm not a DB. No. I'm not quick, so I step on the court. Bro, my teammates just like, what you going to dribble? You going to pass? You going to shoot? I'm like, nah, I rebound. I play center. Like, nah, you ain't playing.
No. Yeah.
Bro, they took me, they like literally like, I'm like, you're not even a starter. He's like, I don't care, bro. You cannot ball and you can't play center at 5'9". He just moved me out of the way. Yeah, tossed me out.
Whoa.
Bro, I was just sad. I was like, oh man. Then I tried to go in and I realized like, even the guy that's like the nerd in class was balling. Right. Little Tyree is balling out there. What in the world?
Yeah. It's real.
It's real. I was like, oh, I can't play here.
No.
I cannot play here.
Them boys are tall.
Yeah. It was funny. But man, that's it's funny. I always ask people to come from the mainland just because it's different, you know?
Different. Yeah.
It's different. You guys play at a different level. But Hawaii's getting better.
They are.
They're getting better. And there are some guys, there's some good people.
Guys.
You know, but I think that we don't have the height or the speed and things like that you guys have out just out in the mainland. You guys are playing against faster, bigger, bigger people out there.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know how you would feel coming into Peyton if I was in there.
No problem.
If I was playing pickup, if I was playing pickup and you saw me on the court and you saw me as the center, you'd be like, "We getting buckets all day."
Right? This is what we want.
This Kyrie. This is young Kyrie all over again
all day. No, but man, it's been awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it has been awesome. And I bet so many people do it.
Dude, Hawaii people are great though.
They're
man.
awesome, dude.
It's great. I mean, I love for me being all the places I've been to.
Right.
One of the things I love about Hawaii is, man, I just wanted to raise my kids here.
Yeah.
Just the culture. They can get out later if they want, if they have to, if they need to, if they got career path that's different. Mm-hmm. But man, just to have Hawaii as home has been a blessing to me.
For sure. Yeah.
You know,
and
it feels like it's your home too. To me, I'm like, bro,
you know, it's crazy. I get questions like, "You from?" I'm like, no, I'm not even close from here. You know, and then, but I think it's just. I actually had a couple of friends just visit, and they were like, "Do you feel like you're part of the culture or part of the people?" And I was like, "Man, you know, this might sound crazy, but I think so." I told them I think I've been accepted. You know, and they were like, "What makes you feel that?" I was just like, "Man, dude, I can just go." I can go to your house and just feel like a family. You guys have brought me in multiple times.
Yeah,
like, yo,
for sure.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, come here. What are you doing? It was actually funny. Your dad was, so you guys just had a recent marriage in the family.
Yep.
And the dad, I saw him at church one Sunday, and he goes, "Where were you this weekend? Why weren't you at the wedding?" I was like, "Oh, I just had no good excuse. I didn't know for sure. Yeah. But that just spoke a lot to me when I was just like, dude, they want me to be a part of it.
Yeah, you didn't get an invite, but I didn't get an invite. I just showed up.
Exactly. Yeah. He's
so
like,
my dad was like, nobody gets an invite. Just
show
come.
up, you know? And I was like, man, that's what it is. Because that's how it is in my house. That's how it is with my family. That's what I remember it growing up. Like we're not putting up these barriers. Like, just come be a part of the family. We want to get to know you. And I think that's probably been the biggest selling point for me, choosing to stay out here.
Yeah. And you know what? Thinking of that's just the culture at large, the church needs to remember that. Like, I think the church needs to remember we should be the most welcoming place, right? Yeah. The world shouldn't do family better than us.
Yeah, exactly.
The culture shouldn't do family better than us. We are part of the family of all families, right? The family of God. And so, man, I'm really blessed by that. I'm really encouraged and blessed that that's one of the big takeaways for your time here in Hawaii, man.
Yeah. It's huge, man. I love it. And ain't going nowhere anytime soon.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Well, we got to jump on again then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%, bro. This is awesome.
Appreciate you.